All right, everybody, what is going on? Good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. And I'm making this video because Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis has released an article that I believe he's released every year for a little while now. And it's always a good thing to look at here because it helps establish a little bit of a baseline for the upcoming NFL season. So, what he has released here on sharpfootballanalysis.com, and I've got his website up here, is a strength of schedule projection for every NFL team based on Vegas forecasted win totals. And I think this is actually going to be very useful for us, more useful than anything else that we could utilize. This video is powered by Prize Picks, more on them a little bit later. But the thing is, when you look at estimated strength of schedule before a season starts for an NFL team, a lot of the time, the projection will be based purely off how the team did the previous season. And that's great, but unfortunately, it doesn't do a great job accounting for movement in the offseason. Like, you would expect that some of the teams that were really good last year to be not so good. You would expect some of the teams that were really bad last year to be not so bad. Things are going to change. And nothing is perfectly going to capture that change, but Vegas forecasted win totals are typically going to do pretty well. There are going to be some blind spots in Vegas forecasted win totals. They're probably always going to overestimate a team like the Dallas Cowboys because that's a team that's going to have a lot of people betting the over on their win total just because the Cowboys have the most fans. Maybe very public facing teams like the Rams or Steelers are going to be inflated a little bit, but overall, I think the Vegas forecasted win total is probably the best we can do, especially right now when we're months away. So I wanted to take a look at this to get an early estimate of what people think the schedule looks like for not only the Seahawks, but division rivals. So we got this chart right here. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit on it. I know it's a little bit small on screen, and there's this header on the website as well. But basically, the Seattle Seahawks have a mildly harder than average schedule. As you can see, they're actually not even top 10. They have the 11th hardest schedule in the NFL, according to Vegas forecasted win totals. So not quite top 10 hardest, but very close. And this is notable because there are two teams in the division that actually have one of the hardest schedules in the league. The Rams are 28th, so that's fifth hardest. So they've got a uphill battle. And the Cardinals, somehow, some way, by far, the hardest schedule in football. I don't know how that happens. Well, okay, I know how it happens. It's really, really bad luck. But that's pretty brutal. Like, you've got a Cardinals team that was one of the worst teams in the league last year. They were in the conversation for worst team in the league. And now they have, according to this, by far, not even by a little bit, by far the hardest schedule in the entire league. I think my microphone's peaking a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, you've got the Cardinals down there. You got the Rams there. And the thing is, when you get into this group, look how close everybody is. The distinctions are very, very minor where the Seahawks are. They are basically tied with the Chargers and Buccaneers and Falcons and Raiders. The Cardinals are on their own little island here. So yeah, that's brutal. I don't like the Cardinals because they're a division rival just by default, but that is tough. If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the Prize Picks app, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. Prize Picks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on Prize Picks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So, yeah, the Seahawks have the 11th hardest schedule, but the difference between them and 10th or 12th or 13th or 14th or 9th is very, very thin. And it's so thin, it can be thought of as not even existing. So they're going to fall somewhere in here probably. But the Cardinals are so far ahead of everybody else. It's just like, wow. So what I'm trying to say is the Cardinals may go 0-17 this year, and it would not be that surprising because they've got a lot of deficiencies on that roster still. I don't think things have gotten that much better. The only team in the division that actually has a somewhat favorable schedule here is the 49ers. And last year, remember, they had by far the easiest schedule in football. This year, it's the 8th easiest. So, yeah, they're still better off than the rest of us, but not nearly as well off as they were before. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff here, pretty interesting notes, and you can go through the whole article here. I'm not going to run through the entire thing here, but the thing to understand here is, okay, first of all, you have the 2026 Vegas win totals for each team, and this is where they're getting their numbers from, and I understand that some of this stuff is going to seem off the top of people's heads to be, like, that can't be right? Like, how are the Broncos only at 9.5? How are the Titans up at 6.5? You're going to have disagreements with this list, don't get me wrong, but it's at least a good starting point. And one thing that this article does point out here is that strength of schedule calculations, which, like I said, typically use prior season win-loss records, are not very effective at correlating current year success. And he even outlines exactly how much more accurate this formula is. And he breaks it down for you. He tells you why this is better. He tells you why this is going to give you a better picture of it. And what's more than that, he tells you that typically the teams that have tougher schedules have a much harder time of making the playoffs. And the teams with the easier schedules typically have a much easier time of making the playoffs. This is no small thing. This stuff matters. So he shows all his work here, and if you want to see it, go check out the article, sharpfootballanalysis.com, NFL Strength of Schedule 2026. But the thing I wanted to really take away from this is just the Seattle Seahawks side of things, where they're, despite winning the Super Bowl, their schedule is still not even in the top 10 hardest. So we've come out of this pretty good. I can't complain. The Cardinals can complain. They should be complaining a lot. If this ends up reflecting reality, that's brutal. And yeah, the Niners are better off than us. The Niners are 8th easiest. We're 22nd easiest. But again, even that gap, that margin between the Niners and Seahawks in schedule is kind of minor. It's not that big, right? The gap is not that, it's like slightly bigger than the gap between the 49ers and Seahawks and Rams. So, yeah, I'm down with that. All right, so if you want to know about the Seattle Seahawks schedule in terms of just raw who we're playing, it seems okay. A little bit harder than average, but not hard. Now, one thing this schedule metric does not take into account is the order of the games, the circumstances. I don't think it takes into account home versus away. So we need to see the exact schedule first. But it's a good starting point. And in a few weeks, we'll be able to kind of cross-check this with the actual layout. All right, I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a great rest of your night, and more stuff coming tomorrow.